Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 74 of GuildGab. This is a show all about everything Guild Wars 2 every week here on Friday on Twitch. And today we are going to have a community Q&A. We got some wonderful questions from you guys this morning on Twitter, Facebook, Discord, all the places, as well as here on Twitch. And so we're going to go through these questions and discussion topics that you guys, as Guild Wars 2 players, have been asking and wondering about. So before we get into that, though, I would like to introduce my three wonderful co-hosts who are all here today. MMOINKS, Alex of the RPG Shack, and Corvus Plays.
Hello.
How's it going this week, guys?
It's good.
It's good. I'm so full of cold, so I might just go like at you guys.
Okay.
You know.
Oh man,
You know,
'tis the
All
season.
spare and love them.
So before the questions, though, just real quick, a reminder to everybody that there has been a sale in the gem store every single day this month, and it'll continue until the end of the month. So it's either an item that is on sale, usually around 20%, sometimes more, and or a returning item that hasn't been in the gem store before this month. And you usually have a limited amount of time to grab it. Sometimes it's 24 hours, sometimes it's 7 days, but they return for a limited amount of time. So make sure you're logging in every single day and checking in if there's something you've been waiting for on the gem store. I know I'm still waiting for my storage expander sale and my bunny ears.
Yeah, I kind of am too. I've been waiting for the storage expander a bit, just to buy like one or two, maybe. Hopefully that's something that makes the list. But yeah, I kind of been waiting for that as well.
I'm just gonna say I've got the bunny ears. I've had them for ages, and it's really weird because way back in the day, I actually posed as the Easter bunny for my guild's Easter egg hunt, and so
Yes.
we set on my Norn Guardian, and I was all in pink and stuff, and so I was
amazing.
I was sat in the strawberry patch behind Nalani Academy, and we'd sent them all around the world. And after about an hour and a half, I started finally seeing people, and there's like, "Oh my God, he's in the strawberry patch!" Yeah, it's a story about my bunny. It's not like I wouldn't. They're totally not my thing. Is like those who watch this show regularly will know that I'm not a bunny ears kind of guy.
Yeah, for sure.
He's lying.
But for that, yeah.
Is there any item you're waiting for, Corvus?
Not really. The storage expander, it's one of those things where like I kind of hope for items that'd be cool for other people, but for me personally, there's not really. I've kind of always been in every skin that's ever been on the gem store that I've wanted, I've kind of got at the time, just to be sure. So I'm just looking and seeing what cool things go up.
Well, they brought the Wizard's hat back finally.
They did.
This past week. So I think
It's
a lot
only
of people
200 gems or something as well. It's super cheap.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were pretty excited for that one.
It's dyeable now as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it takes your hair
Oddly
off.
enough, they made it dyeable, and then they sold it. Go figure. That's good though. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, Corvus. It does take your hair off, though. A lot of those headpieces take off your hair.
Baseball hat.
I don't understand that.
It's a shame. I would be more interested if I get to keep my hair.
I think it's all to do with how the item connects to your avatar. If it connects to the actual hair, which it doesn't seem to do, it just seems to connect to the actual head. Yeah. And like games have done that for years and years and years.
Oh,
so,
yeah, for sure.
But hey,
it's like the Dwayne headpiece has hair built into it. Otherwise, it would probably remove your hair as well. Right?
Yeah.
So
I could see if especially like the baseball cap, like it puts the cap on your head, but then your character is literally bald. Like if you have like a human or a Norn, they're literally bald. There's no hair on the bottom half of their head. I could see if it put like hair there, like it was all put up. Like you could have this crazy big hairstyle, but when you put on the cap, it would show just the hair back here, like you shoved it all up underneath the cap. But there's not even that. It's oh well.
It's a shame. It's I remember being so excited and like since the launch for the tier 3 Norn cultural armor, the heavy stuff with the antlers, and I love that that headgear, and then finally getting it, and then you can just see like this bald back of the head, kind of neck showing through, and I was like, ugh. So I've never actually used it properly. It's a shame.
But hey, it's
just
it's not the end.
It's a game.
We're not gonna.
Just a game, guys.
Well, we got some great questions this morning, and let's dive right in. Keeper the Cookie has asked, if you could create a unique, never-before-seen ranger pet, what would it be and why? And what special F2 ability would it have?
I'd make... well, ranger's the worst class, right? So the pet I would give it would be the best class. And so you would just have this little necromancer running around, doing all the stuff for you.
A flesh golem for a ranger?
Well, I hate minions just as much as I hate rangers, so I don't know about
that. Dick.
I finally have all the ranger pets now. For the first time since this game was launched, I got all the ranger pets.
I do.
Well, because everybody yelled at me because I didn't have a tiger since I'm actually playing druid. And they're like, you don't have a tiger? Okay.
What? But
I have the tiger
Fury,
now.
man. Fury.
It was the second time, believe it or not. It was only the second time I had ever done Dragonstand. It's one of those events that takes so long that I've never wanted to sit down and do it. I had super fun. It was super fun. I had a great time. But the map was successful. Everybody worked together. It was great, but it takes a long time.
This is great, isn't it? Us, pillars of the community, me not having cleared the first boss on the raid, and Peachy only just doing Dragonstand for the second. This is... And then we've got a necromancer as well.
Yeah, you're welcome.
To be honest, I'd actually like to see. I'd like to see some underwater pets. I'd like to see something like a squid or a mini kraken or something like that. That's got
Karka.
Like
that'd be cool.
Squid, yeah.
So it has like an underwater attack, and it can shoot out tentacles to immobilize foes and kind of thing. And maybe or something different. So if that was what the kraken or the squid did, then you could have an octopus, and you could have the octopus from that James Bond from Octopussy, where it grow up.
No, I wasn't laughing at that, dude. I just think it's funny that you want. Alex, you're gonna open a zoo soon, dude.
I am.
What's the menagerie?
Yeah. But no, like the octopus could like sting people and poison underwater and that kind of thing.
Well, they have jellyfish.
Yeah.
The
jelly
do that. AoE poison.
Or maybe even if they brought like a blue whale or something in, and then it could have and then it could do its special ability. They did have one, and then they got rid of it. Not with them. And there is actually a blue whale, or is it a humpback whale swimming around in Lion's Arch, isn't there? Or certainly
humpback.
There's one in Frostgorge Sound. There's one in Bloodtine Coast. Every time we see the humpback whale now, we have to swim with it. You have to have the guild swim along.
There's a bunch. Yeah, there's a couple in different maps.
If you had a whale, if you had a whale, it could have like how whales go like to do like their sonar thing, and it could go do something, and then it could daze or it could confuse or something.
Daze, that'd be cool. That would be cool.
I think underwater pets are great, and I think they could definitely see a lot more development put into them, but not until we get some sort of underwater expansion or underwater rework on the whole for the game. Yeah. Right now, underwater is kind of, unfortunately, like pushed to the side a bit and not really
good.
Not really used a whole lot or focused on a whole bunch.
Yeah.
I think it's good where it is, but I don't think they need to spend any more development time on it.
Oh, I like it, right? It's one of the few games that I actually enjoy underwater stuff in, I don't hate it as much as pretty much every other game in the world. It was done really, really well. I think it just wasn't perfected enough. And hopefully it does get addressed soon, because it's a shame not many MMOs can hold up combat that great underwater. And they could really show it off more if they kind of perfected it and worked the bugs out.
As far as pets, I'm trying to think so the thing about ranger pets is that all their pets serve a different utility. Some serve the utility better than others. So I would really love to see them go through and clean up all of the existing pets, because the usable pet band, the band at which pets are actually usable in the game for raids, open world content, fractals, world versus world, PvP, etc., is actually very narrow. Sure, you see lots of people running bears or red dragons or whatever around the world, and that's fine for open world content where it doesn't really matter. But if you get into raids or fractals or PvP or world versus world, the usable band of pets becomes way more narrow than the variety that you have access to. And a lot of that is because of F2 abilities, wind up on the cast time. For example, birds are great pets, but their cast time on their skills is so big that precludes them from actually being used in a lot of content. And that's why cats are generally better than birds. So I'd like to see a lot of that stuff cleaned up. If you were going to add a new pet, I think another dinosaur would be great. The shovel head, or like the stone, what is he called with the tail where he like stomps, the stone head or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever they're called. Either one of those two would be great. Again, the problem though is if you did the shovel head, the arrowhead, I keep calling him a shovel head because of his shovel.
Yeah.
He does a roll. That would be a fantastic ability. But again, you can't have a long wind up in that, and you don't want to animation lock him. One of the things that the red dragon suffers from, or the red wyvern, is that he becomes animation locked, and you can't pull him out of that. You can't stop him. And so the arrowhead would suffer from a similar thing. If it does a roll, which could be like a knockdown or a knockback, that would be a lot of fun. He would become animation locked, and you don't necessarily really want that. So either of those would be great. If you had a pet, and I've seen somebody saying that like tigers already kind of replace revenants, which is semi-true. If you had a pet that shared boon duration out or condition duration or something like that, that sounds extremely OP, I realize, so it would have to be a small amount, but that pet would be extremely useful.
Yeah.
Whatever that pet was, something like that.
And remember, Tiger is only Fury. It's not Might as well.
Correct. I believe
Just Fury.
Yeah,
right.
Fury.
Yeah.
Tiger's Fury, and then there's another cat that does Might.
Yeah. It's the Juvenile Stalker, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would make a unicorn that can use alacrity.
Oh.
No, really. I want more dogs, more variety in dogs, because we have so many cats. We have reskins of cats over and over.
Cats are better, dude.
But we have the hound. What is it called? Juvenile.
The Crichton Drake Hound.
Crichton Drake
Scooby-Doo.
Hound. There's that,
Yeah.
and so we need more dogs. I mean, I know there's a wolf, but that's. I want like.
Wolves are awesome.
See, I don't know.
Wolves are
We could
cool.
have like a Doberman, and I don't know other big mean
Chihuahua.
dogs. Not my.
You just want a Chihuahua.
And a Chihuahua mini pet, and a Chihuahua mini pet.
It's funny
Like
because there's actually quite a few dogs. The Fern Hound counts as a dog.
Yeah,
You have
true.
the Crichton Hound. The wolves count as dogs. And dogs are interesting, or hounds are interesting because previously in PvE, when you did dungeons and fractals, you don't really want a dog as a pet because it does a knockdown. And you don't really want, because the idea was to stack and burn, you didn't really want your pet knocking it's just like the Ranger Longbow 4. You don't want the pet knocking it out of your AoEs and out of your damage. So hounds in PvE for a long time were no pets. You didn't want that happening. It's interesting because now in raids, that is slightly different. You want that CC that it offers. So it's not as terrible a choice as it used to be. In PvE, they've always been pretty good, world versus world as well, because you don't mind so much the knockdowns and such.
I'd like to see I want to see a German Shepherd in
Oh
the
yeah.
game. I love German Shepherds
They're
with
good dogs.
and very specifically with Immobilize, and there's a story behind this. So
Sit down, get comfortable.
Sit down. It's time for a story. Back when I was a young man, my dad was the station commander of an RAF base, and as part of his debriefing thing, they did like a little show where they got the station attack dogs and they set them on my dad as part of like a demonstration kind of thing. And he had this thing on his arm, so he didn't actually get mauled. But the dog, she was a huge thing called Kerry. She was massive German Shepherd. She just flew across the field at him and latched onto his arm, and it took us 20 minutes to get this damn dog off of his arm, and he couldn't move.
Oh my god!
And that's why you should have a German Shepherd with mobilizers.
Mobilize, yeah. Perfect.
An actual animation of it like hanging off your arm, then you finally shove it off. Benavale had a good question to go along with that. If Guild Wars 2 were to implement a new weapon, what kind would you want to see? So
Spear.
brand new weapon.
Wants spear.
Land
Like a
spear.
kind of lance type thing, yeah.
Only if it was like a Paragon in Guild Wars 1 where they hold it above their head and then you have a shield. I think that was just the coolest stance in Guild Wars 1 with a Paragon. Like, I loved playing my Paragon with her spear just because of the powerful stance that she took when she held it. And then they throw it and it's just, I loved it. The animation was so good.
Well, interestingly, you mentioned like the big two-handed weapons. There was a polearm in beta, which was later removed. So people are saying javelin, halberd, and that kind of thing in chat.
Javelin is what I was thinking of.
So all those kind of two-handed kind of medieval weapons. A lot of people are saying scythe as well for the dervish. The only good scythe is the banana scythe. I think we'll all agree.
Agreed.
Yeah, and it's a daikatana skin, not a katana skin. It's two-handed. That gets on my way. It's a daikatana, Belinda's greatsword, not a katana.
I would like to see. It's tough, right? Because a lot of weapons that you would normally say, like a great axe or a whip or scythe, etc., those already exist in the game as skins. So if you introduce that as a weapon, then you change those skins over to that weapon set.
Yeah, it's
kind of odd, right? So I think I would love to have fist weapons that would basically use the focus as skins as well. So focus and fist weapons would both share those skins because a lot of them could be fist weapons in some regard. Some of them maybe not. It would be kind of weird to hold that whip focus and just punch people in the face with it. But yeah, I don't know. I think fist weapons could work for a couple of different classes. A lot of them warriors, maybe guardians, rogues or thieves, for example. So I think fist weapons could work for a couple of different classes, and then you could just use the focus skins to like complement that the weapon selection.
I'm loving the in chat a boomerang,
boomerang,
a frying pan.
Cool.
So that could be a skin. Remember that silly Black Lion weapon set that they did?
There is a frying pan actually in the game. It's a environmental weapon.
Oh, right. Environmental weapons. Does anybody actually use those?
No.
Unless you have to.
No. There's a couple of places in Old Tyria or Classic Tyria that has like frying pan environmental weapons.
Nice.
Yeah.
Quaggan launcher. A bazooka.
I think that, it's funny. Like some of these things some of these ideas that are interesting really work well as like a focus skin. A boomerang in your offhand as a focus skin. I think that's awesome. You wouldn't actually like you have to kind of think like, how would the boomerang work throwing it wise? Like how are you going to, you know what I mean? That animation. How many different boomerangs can you come up with, for example?
There's not that many skill ideas for either, really. Like, you throw it and it comes back.
Yeah.
But animation-wise, there's not much they could do with it. Right?
Yeah. I don't know. Some of them work.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people have kind of asked for this in the past, that they're like some kind of pugilist where you do use your fists and that kind of thing. I think even there were boxing gloves in the gem store at one point, weren't there? I mean, even though that's more like a brawl weapon or kind of like a brawl item. I think having that up close, very martial feel to feel to combat would be quite cool. And with that, I can envisage. Do you remember how the assassin worked in Guild Wars 1, where you could like chain up skills and what have you? If they could do something like that, where you get like a little Street Fighter kind of combo chain going, where you have skills that flip over, and once it flips over, you can either use that or use the next skill in the chain, and all that kind of thing. That'd be quite. That I realize that is a lot of work for what would probably be a complete
cool idea,
specialization in class.
I think the biggest problem with adding.
Go ahead.
The biggest problem with adding something like that is just making like a new weapon viable across a few classes. Because like a lot of these would work amazingly for like thief and warrior, but then it's not really enough, and you'd have to make them feel kind of distinct from each other too. So, but it would be cool to see. It'd be amazing to see like an elementalist using that kind of close combat, like physical strikes, and working in like the elements for that kind of thing. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of these ideas are great in the sense that they could be added with elite specializations. And I think really like that's the future of the game. An elite specialization will come and add. If you're going to see a new weapon set or a new weapon type, I think it would be introduced there. The problem becomes you're not going to give that to everybody. So now you need to come up with 2, maybe 3, probably 2, but maybe 3 different new weapon types that you can spread out to all of the classes, right? All, what are we, 9 classes now?
Yeah.
9. So yeah, you need like 2, maybe 3 weapon types, probably 3 actually. Now that I think about it, because each 3 different classes would get that weapon that you could spread out to all the classes. Yeah. So if you have like fist weapons, that means you need 2 more that you need to spread out to some of the other classes, without recycling some of the weapons that already exist that are underutilized. Like rifle, for example, is super underutilized in the game. So we'll see. Because then if you don't do that, and let's say you introduced fist weapons and another weapon, and you give that out to 6 of them, that means 3 aren't getting new weapons, and it's gonna make players feel like, okay, well, I really wanted this, but my ranger got rifle instead. And some people might be really excited about that, but it's kind of like, well, this guy got a brand new toy, and I'm getting a recycled toy that already exists in the game, and I don't know.
That would be really difficult.
It's a weird situation.
Unless they added like functionality to some of the new weapons in the core class, like classes that don't have a ton of weapon variety that they could use. So you add something to the engineer, but then the engineer's next elite spec gets an old weapon. Yeah, I think that would be the only way they could do that.
Someone just mentioned an elementalist fister. I love the idea of that, a melee elementalist class that
would make it like an avatar, like an
airbender. It'd be the same as Avatar. That'd be cool as hell.
Here's the thing. There's actually in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, you can actually when you get to 3rd level and you choose the path that your monk wants to take, you can actually choose the path of the 4 elements. And you actually gain earth, air, wind, and fire abilities. So I'd love to see that, because monks in D&D are incredibly overpowered.
Oh man, a monk-mentalist.
Monk-mentalist.
What would you guys like to see for elite specs? We're talking about like new weapons and stuff, but like, are you happy with the way that elite specs work? Would you, when they come out with new elite specs for the next expansion, like, what do you want to see? Do you want to see the same type of thing, or something complete? Like, do you want them to go in a different direction?
I think the way they went with these ones was great, but there was kind of like some classes were changed up loads, and other ones were like Berserker and stuff were kind of too similar to how they were. So if they could spread that out a bit more and make them all feel a bit more distinct, that'd be cool. That's probably the only thing I would change about the system, really. I think it works well. So if the classes feel new and different to play, then they've kind of done their job good.
Yeah, I mean, I was, up until I played Druid, I was pretty disappointed that Rangers didn't get the rifle, because I was fully expecting Rangers to get the other kind of long-range weapon in the game. But once Druid came along, I was like, actually, yeah, this is a great idea. This is fantastic. A lot of people in the actual Guild Wars 2 chat are saying things like Dervish and Ritualist and that kind of thing. A lot of the ideas for Dervish and Ritualist were actually kind of packed into the Revenant a little bit, especially with the way that you can channel the legendaries, the legends like Glint and Shiro and so on. That's based on a lot of what the elite skills did for the Dervish class in Guild Wars 1, although Dervishes did seem a little more powerful in Guild Wars 1. But I think, I pretty much agree with Corvus that the way it works is pretty cool, that you still have your two kind of core classes, or your two core trait lines, and then you bring in your third, which can be your standard third trait line, or your one of your elite specializations. I think that's a great way to do it.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because the next set of elite specializations will be very telling for the game. Right now, you only have one elite specialization, and not for every class, but for a lot of classes, the original intent or the original class itself, Rangers, for example, is completely lost. If you're playing Fractals might be okay, but if you're playing raid content, PvP, world versus world, generally speaking, some circumstances there's an exception, but you lose that class. You don't just play Ranger, you have to play Druid. You almost have to. If you don't play Druid, you're crippling yourself because of how strong those buffs are that Druid provides. And a lot of classes are that way. Not every single class, Engineer, Necromancer, are kind of niche cases where that's not necessarily true. Elementalist suffers from this. You want to take Tempest.
Revenant does.
Revenant. You basically want to have Herald. Yeah, absolutely. So, and like I said, when there's more elite specs, hopefully this won't be as large of an issue. But right now it's a glaring issue for some classes. And I would love to see a balance pass on that, so that some of the core classes are a bit better. Yeah. But that's really tough when you come to classes like Ranger, where the damage buff that you give your party is so significant, you just can't really ignore it for that class. So it's tough. There's also a number of classes that suffer from you provide a buff, ferocity, for example. There are other choices in that line, but you always pick ferocity, like it's better than everything else. You have multiple of that class that might not actually be true. You might want to pick something different. But again, Druids suffer from this as well. You want to have Spotters. Spotters is so good, the other choices don't even matter. So, and there's like 3 or 4 classes that suffer from that. So I'd love to see the core classes tightened up, as well as I want to see them go a totally different direction with each class when the next set of elite specs come out. Guardian almost seems like it's imprinted in stone in my mind, in that they're going to rework the books, the tomes, so there are probably going to be some kind of maybe like a range support with the tomes or something. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work, but they said that was an idea, and that kind of is like stuck in my mind for Guardian as a direction that's probably going to go.
They've started doing it, haven't they? They took a couple of elite spells or elite abilities out of the books and made them their own.
They took the books away. There used to be 2 elite specs for books. They completely took them away and added different. They completely changed them.
It's Signet of Courage and the sword one, which
Wrath. Feel My Wrath.
Yeah,
Feel My Wrath.
Why would you have anything else aside from Feel My Wrath?
Yeah, and the Signet.
do you think they're gonna add more core trait lines? Because, like, at this point, right, you have to choose 2 of the core ones, and and so like, and those have been there since the start of the game, and they're kind of the main direction they were going with the classes at that time. But I think, like, say they add an elite specialization and you get the new trait line, and they want to play with maybe a certain condition or just something different that strays from the path quite a lot from the original idea behind the class. You're gonna have that one trait line doing this one thing, and the other 2 are just kind of old trait lines that don't really match up. And I think they're kind of restricting themselves a little bit. Like, I can't think of an example really, but like I just think that if they could open up those kind of core lines, then they could maybe do more interesting things with the elite specialization lines, because it'd be a shame for them to get into a position where they have this cool idea for an elite spec, but the only thing that really supports that kind of gameplay is that one new trait line, and the other 2 you just kind of choose for, it doesn't feel like there's synergy really. And I think at this point, you can't really see that. But when we're down the road and there's 5 different elite specs and you're having to choose between all of those, the same core ones for that, like, we're going to run out of compatibility, really. And so I think eventually they might have to maybe open it up to, I don't know, 3 core lines or add a few more of the core ones. And I guess that keeps it fresh for the kind of original specs too. Like, say you just want to play Necromancer and not Reaper, you have more things to play around with or something.
But if they add a new trait line, that's what an elite spec is adding a new trait line. I mean, it's also adding new functionality, but that functionality and weapon comes from the trait line.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what you're saying.
I get that.
But
they do need to make sure that these new elite specs line up with some way so that it has synergy with the old core trait lines.
I just think there's only so much they can do that with. If you have 5 elite specs for a class,
you're right.
Like,
it's not.
They're not going to be able to really explore different methods of gameplay and styles of play if they're having to restrict you to the same core kind of ideas. But I don't know. It's not a problem we'll actually have to face, until we have like 5 specs or something.
Yeah. But if they did go that way, Corvus, there is the risk that you'd end up homogenizing everything, that each class
you need a class identity,
fairly similar, but with different armor and weapon skills.
Yeah,
it's a very difficult road to kind of wander down, especially when you're in a position where you're not explicitly adding new classes. And I've seen this more than once in chat as well, people saying that we should be given extra trait lines when it comes to slotting things in. That's what we call power creep, boys and girls. And
which Heart of Thorns, people kind of argue this point that we didn't see power creep, but we did. We absolutely seen a power creep with Heart of Thorns with the elite specializations. People are doing more damage now, plain and simple.
Yeah.
So the amount of damage you can do, as well as the amount of healing you can do, but the amount of damage you can do, and the amount of damage you can sustain has definitely increased with Heart of Thorns. And a lot of that has nothing to do with armor or weapons or items. It has to do with the elite specializations and what they brought to the game. Giving yourself another slot to put in, I mean, that sounds crazy.
I think that's not
madness.
That's why I think the simplest way to do this would be to add new lines, but keep it balanced between all of them, and still have you choose, only 2 from like the core thing. And that way, there's not necessarily just like a huge spike in numbers and what you can do. It's just they could add a new trait line to the core class that could support an elite spec a bit more than having to look at the core ones that we have now and kind of, we can't really do this because none of the other traits support it, so we have to kind of tone it down or go in a different direction. And again, it's not something that we're gonna have to worry about for years, but it's a thing that could cause a bit of restriction in the way they design stuff.
It's interesting because I think that there needs to be a serious trait and skill pass done on the game again. I know that's a lot of work. But there's a lot of dead skills for every class in the game, every profession in the game, and I think there's a lot of dead traits. And they did this before Heart of Thorns. They kind of went through and did this trait sweep, but I think it needs to be done again post Heart of Thorns, because it's just going to get.
As it was.
No, certainly not.
It's not perfect at all.
But there's definitely skills that particular classes just never, ever take. They never use in any game mode whatsoever. And I think those need to be looked at and made more enticing for players to try out. Sure. You don't want to make them overpowered, but...
A lot of those kind of res your ally skills, you know, like Signet of Undeath and stuff like that, the ones that you, like, take like 3 minutes to recharge on cooldown, and all it does is res people who are in down state, you know, around you or something. It's not, I don't know, if you got warrior with a banner, you're fine anyway. So it's just I think you're right, every class kind of has those skills, and if they can tweak them or change the way they work, keeps things fresh.
What if there was like a core trait lines that weren't profession specific? Like any class could take the
like they just add a couple of
A
general
trait line or the B trait line.
That's quite.
There was something like that in Guild Wars 1, wasn't there? There were things like Resurrection Signet and a few other bits and pieces that had that.
They did that with the heal skill, the antitoxin spray that was removed later, and it did go over well because of how narrow the use was. The idea was
cost
interesting,
25
right?
skill points to unlock. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it was just a skill point sync, and you get to see a little animation that's slightly different.
Interesting idea. It just didn't quite work for.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, like you say, it had one application, and that was in the Tower of Nightmares.
Right.
And pretty much,
which exploded and fell over, and then you never used it again.
That's a good game for everybody. Although having said that, they did go back and include a new set of healing skills for people, didn't they?
They added a new profession-specific skill to each class. A healing skill,
Ranger's got Spirit. Mesmer's got that really kind of gnarly one for when you've got your clones or phantasms up, and others as well.
Some of the heal skills in some of the classes need tweaking as well. There's certain classes that only ever take particular heals.
Yeah.
Yeah, you either use on Necro, you either use Signet or Consume Conditions. I never see anyone really running around with the minion heal skill, really.
In Raid, you want the minion a lot of times.
Yeah.
Well, because you're getting healed by other people, so it becomes a warrior Signet that you never use.
Right.
You have the minion up, and he does a very small amount but he does damage, and because you don't really need a heal, you're relying on others to heal you, then it's, but yeah, I mean, it's a kind of a niche situation.
Yeah.
There was a comment in chat that said maybe they could have a racial trait line.
Yeah, I just saw that. That'd be quite cool. But it goes against the whole idea of all of this.
That your race doesn't matter,
It's cool for flavor, but terrible for
They probably want to take out the profession's race-specific skills altogether.
Yeah, and it's why they were deliberately kind of crippled so that they weren't as powerful as profession skills.
Yeah.
It sounds interesting and awesome, right? Like if I play Norn,
like the flavor
there's a lot
stuff.
Right, but I can already tell you that for example, when Mesmers, I think Rangers as well, when you played World vs. World, you wanted to play in Asura because of Technobabble. There was before they nerfed it, there were specific builds that used Technobabble. So if you played that class as another race, you're doing it wrong in World vs. World because it gave you such an advantage with that particular skill. So the balancing would have to be like 100% point on, which balance never is. As cool as it sounds, it would kind of be a balancing nightmare.
Oh yeah.
Plus, you would get like, I don't know, I don't know how they would make it. You'd end up getting like a race that's purely like anything that you're gonna plan on using condition stuff with, you know, Police Ovari, because they're the best condition people, you know, like their trait support condition damage, and none of the other races have like condition support in their
that would just create
a
a matchmaking nightmare in raids. You know, if you want to bring in a human engineer, no, you have to be a char engineer. What are you talking about? You know, no, get out of here. Plus that, but then they could create a race change item in the gem store.
Oh god!
And that would just be another. That would be so bad, so bad.
Don't give them ideas, Peachy.
I've given them plenty of ideas.
Norn
that
had
they
a thing
haven't
for a
paid
while
attention to.
where you wanted to play in Norn because you got the rush from, was it the cat form? I can't remember which form it was. One of the forms had a rush just like Fiery Greatsword, and you could exploit the hell out of it just like that. So you played in Norn for that until they nerfed it.
But can you imagine the salt after maybe 4 years? If people's classes become obsolete because of racial skills that are incoming. Just like,
I mean, for me personally, that would make me really happy. I constantly go through this thing where it's like, I feel like I should have one of every race, but really I have like 7 Asura and like 2 Sylvari or something. So then I make characters of other races, and I'm like, I just don't want to level you again and gear you out. So then I just end up deleting them. Not because I don't necessarily like it, I just don't feel like going through that process again with a class I already have, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, a race change for somebody like me would be fantastic. And if it resets your personal story, I could care less. Whatever, I'll play through it again, and I'll deal with that. But, yeah, I mean, I do understand the hurdle of, like, it messes up the personal story and stuff, but I don't think that many people would really care if it just
they would just have to reset it and keep track of what rewards you have already received.
Yeah.
Unless you could still get the rewards all over again if you're paying money to, you know, you're already paying gems or a crazy amount of gold to change your race. Sure, get your rewards again, you know?
Yeah.
You've already paid the price.
And you get dropped back to level 1 as well. No, I'm absolutely...
Literally, what's the point then? No. It's just... You may as well just make a new character, dude.
Well, no, I'm absolutely
you get to keep your age of your character, I guess.
No.
No one cares.
It couldn't drop you back.
If you were that invested in a character that you wanted to take them all the way back from 80 to level 1 just to change their race, and you had legendaries or ascendeds or whatever, even though they're account bound now, so who cares?
No, you just create a new character. There's no...
Just make a new character. There's no advantage.
There would just be rage. I mean, think of your main. Think of your main and their race and their class. Like, if all of a sudden I was told that, oh, you can't play your human female guardian because you have to be an Asura now or whatever, you know, you have to be a Norn, then I would rage. I'd be like, what, are you kidding me? Like, yeah.
I would,
that's a 10%.
I don't know, I would definitely race change my Ranger, who's my original character. Only because I don't like healing as an Asura. I'm so small that, like, I zoom out enough that I'm so small that running around trying to heal people is a little more challenging that size. I'd rather be big and annoying so that I can heal better.
Yeah.
Why you just make a new Ranger then?
No. I did crazy? That. He was deleted.
Didn't work.
I just couldn't. No, I don't. I've been through this so many times now that I don't want to make another character just to like have a different race option.
See,
I realize like I might be a very, very niche case, but I don't know. I don't think race change is that big a deal.
Yeah.
I'm really glad they don't have any kind of differences between the races, because like, you know, you play games and you get to choose a race at the start and it doesn't really affect combat, but they have like, oh, this race runs like 5% faster, this one can craft things faster, like just slight differences to give them flavor. But I always end up like, you know, 2 hours later wondering if I made the right decision, and then like, you know, kind of doubting myself and whether I did the right thing or chose the right one. I think it's good to be able to choose based just purely on the kind of lore and the appearance. I think it's so important, because otherwise, I don't know, I wouldn't be able to get invested in the character as much if I was, you know, always thinking back to oh, but it would have been so much better if I had this slight tiny bonus, or things like that, and it makes it difficult. It's like playing Oblivion or something like that. The longest I spend on character creation is just like the race side of things, because I need to work out, or like the trait kind of bonus stuff.
Well, you choose Dark Elf because you get archery, destruction, and longswords.
Okay, I'll remember that.
And then you win the game. And then you win the game, Corvus. That's it.
Alaska said instead of a new trait line that had to do like a racial trait line, you could have a racial trait line, but have it be like the Quaggan trait line, or the Skrit trait line, or the Etten trait line that anybody could use.
Right.
Just sounds like mastery, though. That just sounds like a mastery track. Like a Quaggan mastery that you can...
Well, there you go. There should be the Quaggan mastery
more
track.
Flubber off each Quaggan, and you can use it to make soap.
Only
and
way. The only way to level the Quaggan mastery track is to go and do Quaggan events. Any non-Quaggan related events doesn't level
my
it.
god! What if there was a mastery line? A mastery line that you could only level by underwater combat and events. An underwater trait line, or underwater mastery.
It was like the
track.
old. Like the old,
everybody
was it
in the same
we had the old underwater kills
lake.
monthlies or something, or the dailies.
Speaking of monthlies, do you guys miss monthlies at all?
Yeah. I loved monthlies.
Yeah.
I loved being like, oh, I did this month's monthlies like after like one day. It was a cool thing, and you got like good rewards for it as well. I liked it. It was kind of. I think it would keep people logging in as well. To try and. At least for like maybe a few days longer than they would have normally, just to kind of get that done.
Because if you miss a daily, it's like, oh, I've missed a daily, so whatever if I miss a daily. But if you miss a monthly, you're like, you can, no, there's only 12 of them a year. Come on, I can't miss a monthly.
Yeah.
The only thing the only thing I don't miss about them is I would save it until the very last day, like the last 2 hours, and then I wouldn't get it done. And I've literally had to kill I'm like, okay, I have to kill one champion. That's all I need to do. And like the seconds are ticking down, and I'm like 10 seconds too late, and it ticks over. No, I've literally missed a monthly by 10 seconds.
Yeah, you got what was it? You got 10 laurels, was it? And 10 laurels and a legendary bit of luck and some other gem store tat, I think, didn't you?
It was cool. It was a cool little thing, and I remember like doing the Queensdale champ train. Rest in peace. And getting the champion Slayer and stuff like that. It
was Frostgorge too tough for you, Corvus?
No, it was just way more chill.
What?
Yeah, I did the Frostgorge.
What kind of weird alternate universe are you talking about? That the
Frostgorge requires at least a tiny bit of brain power to do, and concentration.
Said the necromancer. And ladies and gentlemen, Corvus plays.
It was just nice because Queensdale looks nicer, and it has cooler, nicer music, and you would just sit and you would chill out in like the kind of nice afternoon sun, killing loads of champions.
Frostfang.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all because you can't see my Frostfang very well in
Frostgorge. Oh, his Frostfang stands out more in Queensdale. That's what it is.
You can impress new players with it, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. That's my end game.
Your end game is
showing off his Frostfang to newbies.
Where'd you get that weapon?
By killing these champions out of order. To be fair, that was one of the best things they ever did, transforming all of those to veterans.
Oh, man, I know.
No,
annoyed a lot of people.
I know, funny as balls, wasn't it? And like Reddit just blew up. But like, it was such a toxic environment for new players.
Horrible. It was horrible.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it so much that they did that for the newer maps, like the lower level maps.
Yeah,
but I don't know that they needed to do it game wide necessarily.
What do you mean when they started introducing elite mobs and that kind of thing?
Well, I mean, elite mobs are fine, but
I think trains are fine, but when it's in the first starting zone of humans, which is probably the most popular race for a new player, just because it's kind of a safe thing to go for first. People come along and they're with their friends playing, and they see like the Oak Heart come and it's this big like ghostly undead champion thing, and they work together and kill it, and then all they get is like, who killed Oak? God, join the train, guys, blah blah blah. And it's just like it's bad, dude. You can't be shouted at for playing, you know.
Yeah, but that's how it was, though, wasn't it?
It was definitely like that, and
that's what I mean. Like removing it from the early zones is definitely a good idea. You don't want
people as well. I mean, I saw this with my own eyes when I was doing it. Was that people would come along, and they just started the game, and I'd see them there every single day for the next week, you know, and they'd just be getting to level 80 just in that one zone doing the train over and over again, and they weren't really playing the game properly, you know. They were just kind of farming their way to level cap. And that's not really how new players should play the game, I don't think.
Ooh. Going back to the elite spec thing, Kai has a really cool idea. A secondary profession elite spec. You get to take any of the other professions' core trait line as your third line. That's interesting. So it would kind of be like a cross class. That's an interesting idea.
I mean,
it's interesting.
It's not too far-fetched considering, you know, you had 2 classes in Guild Wars 1 anyway.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think how that would work. I mean, I think there'd be, but I mean, to be fair, there was a lot of redundant kind of combinations in Guild Wars 1 anyway.
It wasn't so bad for that, though. I mean,
I think,
but then
I think the time for cross-class was Guild Wars 1, and I think that it did it really, really well. And the way that classes work here, I mean, what would you even do with like utility skills or weapon skills and that kind of thing? Say if a class used the same weapon as something that you were going to use, it would just kind of, it would just be I think it would just make
go off your main class. Whatever the main profession was. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
it's certainly an interesting idea.
Selfishly for me, that would work great because then I certainly wouldn't need 9 classes. I could just
have one character.
I could definitely get rid of at least half of them, if not more. And I mean, just go through it that way. But
so it would make Inks very happy.
Yeah, but balancing would probably be a nightmare. I think.
Yeah.
Oh God, that'd be brutal.
I mean, that's how it was in Guild Wars 1, that there were balance patches pretty much every week. And
they just can't do that in Guild Wars 2. They
can't.
Can't do that, unfortunately.
Right.
So let's end. I can't believe we have been talking for almost an hour. This is crazy.
Oh, wow, that one really fast.
We didn't even get to like half the questions.
I know, there's so many questions. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, with the lull in Guild Wars 2 right now in news, we have a great stockpile of questions because you guys have submitted some wonderful, wonderful questions. So I'll just keep those, you know, for the future, and I'm sure we'll be doing a lot more of these Q&As. But Wyvern asked, if Ritlock doesn't tell us what happened in the Mists, would you rather learn about it in a book or a movie, and why?
A movie if it was like a feature-length, kind of their animated art style cutscene thing. That'd be cool. I would never want a live-action movie. That would be horrible. They could never do that.
What are you talking about? World of Warcraft.
Could never. It would just be like the Super Adventure Box advert, like Ritlock's the big Ritlock costume and stuff. Dude, no, that'd be terrible.
Oh, if there was like an 80. Oh no, if they did a live action one, but with like the Jim Henson workshop.
Oh man. Oh, if it was like, that'd be quite cool if they could pull it off.
Ridiculous.
Netflix originals Guild Wars. Yeah, absolutely. Pick it up, Netflix. Let's do it.
If it was animated, though, I think they could really, because they'll just use the same voice actors, which are you know, really talented people, and they've already got the amazing kind of art style stuff. It would work quite well. Guild Wars 2 anime.
I mean, I think you're more likely to see a book than any kind of animated thing.
100%.
I mean, in the perfect world, I would love to see it animated, absolutely. But in a more reasonable world, I think a book is what you could probably expect. Sadly, I don't know if we're ever going to see it in game. There's a lot of stories and backstories, unfortunately, that we just we don't get to see. I used to really like it when they did the short little stories they would put up on the website for like Rocks and Bram and etc. And I know a lot of people weren't overly favorable towards that. They wanted that stuff in game, and I agree with you. I really do. But if it's a choice between not getting it at all or getting it on the website, then hey, I would love to see that again on the website or heck, another book or whatever, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, of course I would love a movie, like, you know, if it was done well, you know, whether it was animated, definitely not live action, God no. You know, if it was animated, whether it was in-game animation or traditional animation or whatever. I mean, obviously, I would love to see, like, a CG, you know, a proper CG film. Like, the original Guild Wars 1 trailers were incredible.
Yeah,
Factions
like,
one.
that was the Factions one. Even the original one is really cool. Like, I love it. Like, I would love to see... I prefer that over the art style that they do with Guild Wars 2. Now, I like the art style, don't get me wrong. It's really cool. But I would love to see more of that 3D animation. I know it's a lot 100%. More work and a lot
maybe
more
like
resources.
the Heart of Thorns trailer we got.
I would
you know, with
love
Ritlock
for
and
the Heart
big,
of Thorns trailer
like,
to
that
have
kind of
been
blend between
full
the two.
3D CG. I would love. Oh my god, I would have just.
Did you guys ever see the Final Fantasy film they did, The Spirits Within, or Advent Children? So, you mean
that kind of super high quality CG stuff?
Yeah, absolutely, something like that. I think that could be really, really nice.
You don't want a super adventure box Ritlock Brimstone just rolling around.
Only if the entire movie was in like 80s style. Make it like Kung Fury, but Guild Wars 2.
It kind of reminds me of like Power Ranger villains, like just
yes,
awkwardly wieldy suits that they just like, you know, their arms flailed about and I don't know what's going on.
I can't believe that was me when I was a kid. I really can't. Jesus Christ. But yeah, I think a book is more likely, and I think if it's stuff that we've not seen before, rather than just if they're deliberately using it to put lore into the world, I think we'll get a lot more detail in the book. Because as interesting as the other books are, there's a lot of retreading of current lore and lore that we already knew, rather than stuff that's actually being pushed as, hey, this happened, this is canon. And we're going to be implementing this kind of stuff into the game, and there'll be nods to it as you play through Living World 3 and the next expansion. So if they do that, if they do something like that, that's what I would like to see, rather than just a retread of some lore that we already knew with characters that we don't really care about.
Right.
Kind of like an expanded universe type thing.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, I really loved. So I haven't finished it. I don't even know where the book is. I haven't finished it, but I just picked up Sea of Sorrows like a week or so ago, and I love how when they released Sea of Sorrows, they also put plaques in the game. That gave little pieces of the book and like made references to the book. So if you read the book, you would have that instant tie-in to the game. So if you're going to go the book route, then I think you should put something, not plaques necessarily. I don't think plaques work for Ritlock, but you should put something in the game that ties into the book itself. Put little blurbs about it into the, into whatever, so that they tie together in that way.
It's like you see, is it Colleen's grave?
Right.
You can find that whole thing there.
Books
it's just like
in the game.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
And Paula.
Peachy deleted.
Sorry. I think she might be on an alt. I don't know. They should bring back
One
Paula
forever.
for one of the March sale days. Free Paula.
Poor Paula.
Poor Paula.
Unappreciated.
No. Sad memories, man. Sad memories.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're going to wrap up the live show. Guild Chat will be starting shortly. But we'll do a short little post show, so stay tuned if you're watching live on Twitch. If you're watching on YouTube, scroll down into the description and check out all of our websites, our Twitch, our YouTubes, our Twitters, and follow us in all the places for more Guild Wars 2 content. Thank you guys so much for joining us this week. We'll see you again next Friday live on Twitch. Take care, guys. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.